top 10 for the year list for you. I apologize.
No
I'll make it up to you.
problem.
I'll make it up to you next year, though.
No problem.
Is that this one? All right, I'm trying to see if this is. Yep.
I'd like to hear the ones that you thought that you would add.
We are Brightside Home Theater.
Hey, home theater nerds, welcome to the Brightside Home Theater Podcast. The home theater podcast that's all about the experiences, the sights, the sounds, the scenes. And right now, special podcast, the best of 2022, the home theater experiences. And to get this off, we're going to bring in Ralph from AVS Forum and now also Sound and Vision. How you doing, Ralph?
Good. How you guys doing today? Good to be here.
Glad to have you here. Glad to have you here. And I can't forget the guy that got this all started, all the way down the end of what we call a bus bench here, down the end, Jeff, who put this all together a few years ago from HD Report. We've been doing this for a few years, and this is the first year that I think the three of us separately throughout the year have been like, I can't wait to get to this, because it's just been amazing. So, Jeff, thank you for starting this years ago, and thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to get into this, and Ralph, looks like you got the middle position here. So,
Okay.
have you seen Curb Your Enthusiasm, the middle?
No,
I have, but I'm not sure of the reference.
The middleman. So you've got you're the one who strikes up all the conversations because you're sitting at the middle of the table.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, we are streaming live. That's a first. We talked about that a little bit earlier. First on purpose. But we've got a lot to get to because this has been an amazing year. I can't think of it. Can you guys think of another year that's had this much great home theater content in it as 2022 did?
I'd have to think about that one, not to jump in, but I'd have to think about that one. It has been a fantastic year. We've had some great years in the past, but I would certainly say that this one ranks among the better ones. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I think everything's getting better and better, especially when you have the streaming services getting much better and offering really cool cinematic quality
Yeah.
stuff. I mean, this was a huge year. We know two titles that we're going to be talking about for sure out of the streaming services, right?
I hope.
So,
We'll see how it all shakes out. We don't know. None of us know what the other ones have. We kept it that way on purpose, just to keep it fun. I had a hard time with my list. I just kept adding to it, and I've been working on it since the beginning of the year. Every month I'd be like, oh, what was my favorite one that month? And Jeff, you and I sat down in July, I think it was, and broke down. I don't even want to go back and look at that list because I'm afraid that some of that stuff that I had in the top 5 isn't even on this list. I'm sure there is, but it's crazy.
No, I mean, I think that was a great list we had. There's a couple that have to be still on there. We touched on streaming a little bit, so this episode is really more combining everything that you can do at home now at this point. I mean, the home theater systems are so advanced now that, I mean, you have to go to the theater, but
Yeah.
home has become so much more immersive with the technology, the audio, and the visuals. Great too. So
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would also add that not all theaters are created equal. Some
No.
theaters don't sound as good as it does at home. So I agree that
mhm,
the technology at home has come a long way, and it's
mhm.
beneficial to us, of course.
Yeah. And not only that, they're also doing exclusive to
Hmm.
streaming. You can't go to the theater to see some of these things. And Netflix in particular, there's some titles in there that didn't make my list, but they're fantastic titles that any other year they're
Mhm.
only on Netflix. You can't see them anywhere else, but any other year they probably make the top 10. And
Sure.
I mean, streaming is, they're figuring it out and they're making themselves known. My listeners were asking, "Are you going to do?" They actually asked if I was going to do a streaming top 10 and a physical top 10, and I was like, "I like to do this. That's what I'm about, is the home theater experience." And I like, as the years go on, I'm expecting to see more and more of a meld out of the two of them.
I would agree.
Yeah, I think you have some interesting things happening too with Netflix releasing Knives Out, the Glass Onion Knives Out story
Mm.
um, internationally, doing really well, and then all of a sudden Netflix pulls it back. Oh, it's just a marketing tool for our streaming services.
Right.
And a lot of people wanted to go see it for the holidays. It's a great film in the theaters, and I saw it twice. I saw it in the theaters, and I saw it at home, and it's great both ways. It's a really good film, and you saw that it was a top 10 movie on Netflix for at least a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
It's ranked really high. I think it has like a 94% Rotten Tomato score right now or something. People love it because it's a good film that everybody can kind of get into. I'm not saying this is the best home theater experience.
Right.
Maybe you guys have it. I don't.
I
I'm
don't.
telling you now.
I
But
haven't
it's
even
a
seen
good.
it yet, but
I
yeah.
haven't seen it either. No.
It's kind of like Knives Out, but it's a little more. It's a little better. It's a little more expansive. It's not doesn't take place in one house. But yeah, it's worthwhile, and it's a good PG-13 film. So
Nice.
Cool. All right. Do you want to get into it with our first, our honorable mentions, and then we'll start at our 15 and whittle our way down to the top one, and then we'll wrap up with what our consensus top 10 is. But what didn't, Ralph? You can go first. You're the middleman here. What didn't? A couple of honorable mentions that didn't make your top 15 for the year.
All right. So I have seven honorable mentions
Ooh.
that did not make the top 15. But so the first one is a movie called Okja. It's a Criterion release this year.
Okay.
Um, it's a catalog title, so it wasn't a brand new movie. It came out in
Yep.
2017, but it was released on 4K this year by the Criterion Collection, and that one it got a perfect technical rating for video from me. It just looked phenomenal. So that was on my list.
Cool.
One that I covered recently called Train to Busan, another catalog release. That was released by Well Go USA. Now, interestingly enough, I reviewed the sequel to that movie on Blu-ray first, on 4K, excuse me, and I had never seen the original. Then I got a chance to see the original. I just went out and bought the original because everyone was raving about it. So I went out and bought the original, and I loved it.
mhm.
So this year they released it on 4K. It just showed up on my doorstep from Well Go USA. I was thrilled, and that one got a high technical rating for video for me as well as being a great movie. So that's on my list. Another one is called Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Ooh.
Now I don't know if you guys had a chance to see
Yeah.
that one. That was released by
Mhm.
Lionsgate. Another good movie. Not, it didn't get an extremely high technical rating, but it between the audio and the video for me, for its Atmos and its Ultra HD video quality, it got a 91, which is decent. So that made my honorable mentions. Event Horizon, the limited edition
Mm.
Steelbook 4K Steelbook from Paramount. One of my favorite sci-fi horror movies, and I just thought it looked great. It didn't get an Atmos mix, but the 5.1 channel mix on that is still quite good. So that one made my list. Arrow Video released True Romance this year. It's a classic movie from the 90s,
Mm-hmm.
and surprisingly, it I was surprised at how good it looked and sounded. So that one made my list, received a 90 overall technical rating from me. The Untouchables. The 4K release of The Untouchables. I thought it looked good. I love the Atmos, the way they handled the Atmos mix on that one. I think the Atmos mix kind of overshadowed the video just a hair, but it still looks great, I thought. So that made my list. And the last is a movie called Heavy Metal.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have seen Heavy Metal.
Oh, yeah.
But I loved it. Sony sent me that 4K Steelbook, and I don't think I'd ever seen the movie.
Oh, really?
I don't think
Oh,
I'd ever
wow.
seen it. No. So they sent it. I thought it looked great, sounded great, and that one made my honorable mention list. So that covers my honorable mentions.
Nice. I can't wait to hear your top 15. What do you got,
We'll
Jeff?
see.
Gosh, I mean, I agree with so many of the ones that Ralph just said. I mean, I think I thought Event Horizon was great. I thought the color palette, the color grading in that was excellent. The sharpness was great. I love the packaging. I don't know if you got a look at some of the packaging, but it's really nicely done. And that's always the bonus with physical media. I had Bullet Train. Now, look, I talk all Blu-rays like all the time, right? But I'm trying to bring some streaming in because Mr. DJ likes to talk about streaming as well. And that do you really own it? But do you really own that streaming stuff?
No, but I'm talking about experiences in your room. That's what
Okay.
we're talking.
I'm just kidding.
I know.
So I thought Bullet Train was a fun experience. A lot of people didn't like that movie, but it's a very high quality production. Everything from the sound to the visuals. The script is good. I saw it at the movies and watched it at home several times on 4K, and it looked excellent. But is it an Oscar-winning film? No, it's just a good time. I thought The Godfather and The Godfather 2 and the third one, I thought they were good. I can't say in terms of home theater experience, it's the best thing that I've seen.
Right.
I was really happy with what they did with restoring those films. Of course, it's one of the best films of all time. But I didn't have it in my top 10. Gosh, I feel bad if I hit one that you guys might have in your top list, but
You're
Don't
gonna
feel
make us
bad
look
'cause
bad. You're gonna make us look bad, Jeff.
We've already had. One's already been named. That's in my top 10.
okay.
No,
Me
mine
too.
15.
I thought the Adam Project was an excellent home theater experience. Would I watch it again? Probably not. It had a lot to it. Here's a film that maybe you guys didn't see. All Quiet on the Western Front.
I saw
Seen
that. Great.
Haven't seen it.
The new one. Yeah.
It's the new one. It's about a German soldier in World War I who wants to go to war, and he signs his parents' signature on the release out of I guess out of high school or something, and he ends up on the battlefield, and it's brutal.
Right.
It takes a lot from Saving Private Ryan. It takes a lot from 1917.
Yes.
But it's a good production. It's an excellent home theater experience. It's subtitled.
It's a tough watch too, but it's a great home theater experience.
That's a good one. Gosh, what else am I going to say here? Okay. I'll give you a couple. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, a very thin film by my standards, but had a lot going for it in terms of home theater experience. I'm going to cut it off at that because I don't want to get too deep into this. I didn't really prepare honorable mentions, so
Oh.
yeah. Okay.
We're
Don't
gonna
feel
have to.
bad, Jeff. I kind of threw the honorable mention thing at DJ while we were chatting earlier, so that may have been where that kind of came from. So don't feel bad about that.
Oh no, don't feel bad at all. Don't feel bad at all. My whole screen just shut off, but now I just got it back on. So you guys covered real well. But anyways, no, don't feel bad at all. I'll go through my honorable mentions. First, Sonic the Hedgehog 2. It's a kids movie, but in the theater, I had a listener mention this one, and I was absolutely blown away by the atmos of this movie. There's some overhead stuff, some fantastic bass in it, but it's a kids movie, so the longevity to me probably not gonna really make it, but it is a great home theater experience. Pulp Fiction, that was the picture on that, the 4K and the HD, and seeing that the way it sounded as good as it always has. But Quentin Tarantino's soundtracks in that it was just amazing. But the pictures and do you know the scene at the very beginning of the movie when Bruce Willis goes into the bar, but that bar was lit so heavily with red. This was the first time that you could really separate like some of the bluer lights in the background and stuff, the separation in color that they had there, even though it was still heavy red, but then you could get some natural lighting on Bruce Willis's close-up face instead of just everything being washed red. That was amazing. Lawrence of Arabia, I can't believe that couldn't crack my top. I know, I'm sure you guys have it. Edge of Tomorrow, another amazing movie, but to me it just didn't have enough to get over some of these other ones. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, another one that's just from beginning to end, it's just like the visuals on that movie I thought were fantastic. There was some contention over bass on this one in the middle of the year, right, Ralph? I enjoyed it. You enjoyed it, I know, but some people were saying it wasn't there. But it was any other year, all of these would probably be making top 15, top 10. Rings of Power on Amazon Prime. That one, for what Amazon did there, we all had doubts leading up to this on can Amazon put out a good product on streaming. They seemed to be the lesser, but this one, they knocked it out with this one. It came really nice. And my closest to the top 15, Prey on Hulu, the streamer. Did either of you guys see that one?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
So in the United States, we didn't get it in Atmos. We had to upmix it. But outside the United States, people got it in Atmos on Disney+. We have Hulu here, and that doesn't have Atmos capabilities. People with the Atmos said it was fantastic, the Atmos track. I thought it was fantastic with just the standard, what we got here, but it was in 4K on Hulu. It was a great movie, and I definitely had this one in there pretty much all year long because I wanted to talk about it. It was such a great take on, the Predator series, new way of doing things, and it sparked a lot of conversation, and it is a great home theater experience. If you haven't seen it, it's just, crank it up and enjoy it because it's a great movie and a great experience, and the 4K, a lot of fun, especially and coming from Hulu. Who would have thought, So, all right, that's our honorable mentions.
Can I pop one more in that I don't?
Sure.
Think I was gonna... Wait. Do you have the?
No, we're so structured here, Jeff.
Wait. Wait. Let me ask you. Am I supposed to have the top 15 or top 10?
Well, I thought we talked about it before, but maybe not. But yeah, 15 around that. That's what we were going to go with. But if you don't, that's fine.
Okay. Yeah, whatever you have.
What do you got?
Okay. Well, I have another one, but okay, I'm going to keep it then. I'm going to keep it because you might not have this one. And
That's
I'm gonna
okay.
keep it in my top. Okay.
That's the point. I mean, everything you guys are saying as we started this, I mean, you're all coming at it from different perspectives. I mean, Ralph's talking technical stuff and like the way I love that. And then you're talking box covers and I love that. And it's like, we're all coming different perspectives here. And I'm like, hey, my room went boom.
I don't know. Jeff, did you say box covers? I don't think you said box covers.
No, you said art or something, whatever you said.
No.
You're like talking about...
This kid DJ.
It's fun.
All
right. So are we ready to get to it?
Yeah, I got my number 15 to start. If we're...
Oh gosh.
He's all nervous.
15 is a lot.
All right, Ralph.
Yeah,
Smokes.
But we've talked about at least one of them.
I know.
If we each at least have 10, well, at least have 5, then we can come up with a top 15, right?
Oh, I'm just giving 15. We're going to come up with a top 10 for us. So if you don't have them, Ralph and I'll just go through what we have. Don't
that's
worry
not an
about
issue.
it. We're going to be
now
good.
if I agree on one of yours,
Yeah,
then
absolutely.
I can pop it and say yes, I've got that in my top.
Yep. Knock
100%.
yourself out. So,
right.
Ralph, why don't you go first?
Okay, so right now I'm
Your
going to
number
talk about
15.
number 15 through number 11. Right?
Oh, okay. If you
Oh,
want
you
to do
want to
that.
do one at a time?
Do
or
one
what
at
do
a
you wanna
time.
do?
We'll go right
One at a
around the
time.
room because I'm
Okay,
going to type them out
perfect.
as we go if I don't
All
already
right,
have it in
perfect.
here.
All right. Number 15, Nope.
Ooh.
Now, strangely enough, though, I saw this movie in the theater. My wife and I saw it in the theater. Um, I want to say it could be a little polarizing in that the movie itself was a little like odd, at least
Okay.
initially. If you saw the trailer for it, the trailer seemed a little odd, and then
Yeah.
when you saw the movie the first time I saw it, it seemed a little odd.
Yeah.
But then I got it to review at home, and I watched it again, and I just gleaned a little bit more from it. But what I found, in addition to gleaning more from the story, I also really enjoyed the presentation. It's not an overly colorful movie. So it sticks to a lot of earth tones, but all of them are rendered beautifully. I love the flesh tones that were represented of the members of the cast. The HDR I thought was extremely well done on the reserved side, but where applied, I thought it was done very, very well. But I think what I really enjoyed most about Nope, its presentation at home, was the Atmos mix. It got a
Oh,
perfect technical rating from me. I just thought it was fantastic.
that's
So Nope is number 15 for me.
nice.
Can
I
I
haven't
pop it
seen
in
that one.
Can I pop it and say that I completely agree?
You want that as your 15?
Sure.
Okay.
I saw it at the theater as well, and at home. It's not my favorite Peel film, but and I thought it went on a little bit too much. What I didn't, what I didn't like, I agree with everything you said. I love the presentation. The cinematography was spectacular. The audio was spectacular. In terms of the story, I didn't really like seeing the creature. Ralph, and on DJ, you haven't seen it. I didn't like how they kind of, you know what I mean? I
Sure.
liked it to be more mysterious. And so I thought that kind of, it went a little too far for me, but I did like it. And I think it's definitely a top home theater experience for sure. And the bigger, the better too, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
It's not a film like you ever watch on a smartphone. I mean, that would
No.
be ridiculous.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
that's what I've heard. That's one that I'm disappointed I didn't get to take in. But
I mean, if I could pan my camera, I've got two little posters
Of
from
it?
the film.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
I really liked it.
That to your point, Ralph, about the trailers and stuff, I saw so many trailers for that, and they all seemed to be different. I think I saw 4 or 5 different trailers going to the movies over the summer, waiting for that to come out, and it was like one, they were all dancing. I'm like, okay, what's this about? Another
Yep.
one, it was like, okay, this has got a horror vibe to it, and another one was like a space vibe, and I was like, what is this movie about? So that kind of lost me. Nothing ever grabbed me out of that trailer. But what did grab me is people started talking about it, like yourself. When it gets home, when it came home, everybody was like, "This is an amazing Atmos track," and I kept meaning to get to that, but I didn't. I never got to it. So, my number 15 is Adam Project on Netflix, because the Atmos in that and the 4K. I thought it was fantastic. And throughout the year, that one, it's stuck in my head. I remember sitting down. It's a great father-son movie. Sitting down with my son, watching that movie, and we were and it's the story I thought was so much fun. I dare I say kind of original, but it was so much fun. But then again, the sights, the sounds, the scenes, there were so many nice booms and pans and all of that fun stuff that Netflix really seems to be doing a really good job with streaming and getting the most out of, what they can do with streaming. And in a feature-length movie like this, I thought it was great. So that's why I had it as my number 15. All right, back to you, Ralph, with your number 14.
Number 14. I'm singing in the rain.
Oh,
So Singing in the Rain is number 14 for me. Um, in terms of the film, it speaks for itself. The presentation, it's really, for me, was more about because the movie had been remastered before it was released on Blu-ray and so forth. So the 4K presentation took all the things that made the 1080p SDR better. I loved, there wasn't a large use I wouldn't say there was a definitive application for high dynamic range there. However, wide color gamut shown beautifully. There were instances where, the use, the way they used lighting in the film was complemented by the use of, high dynamic range. I thought that the flesh tones and the colors and the resolution just brought it all together. It got a perfect technical rating for video for me. So Singing in the Rain was one that had to be in my top 15.
nice. Jeff?
Well, I'm going to give you. Let's see here.
It's like he's picking out of a hat.
Indeed, I am. I'm going to give you. Let's see. I've got a stack of things here. The Lost Boys.
Oh, I like that one.
The Lost Boys?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, I lost you guys. I thought it looked a lot better than some of the other films that they've restored. I mean, let's talk for a second about all these films this year. And there are over 400 new editions. Now that includes limited editions, steelbooks, stuff like that, retailer exclusives and stuff. I have to calculate the full number, but that's a lot more than previous years, which are averaged around 250 editions per year. But a lot of it, I'm just not. I'm not very. I wasn't impressed with a lot of the releases. I thought. What's the movie now? The Highlander was poorly done.
Really? That's too
Some
bad.
parts of it were pretty good. Some parts were good, but some of it was so grainy. I mean, you could use a fork to pick out some of that grain. It was that bad. But the Lost Boys, I think they did a really good job with the color grading. The soundtrack is still pretty good. It wasn't upgraded to anything,
Right.
Today's state of the art. But the sharpness was pretty good. It was really nice to see this movie, color graded and expanded in contrast. Added, there was some added contrast, and what's cool? A lot of it takes place in that vampire's lair, right?
Right.
That cave. Do you remember, DJ?
Oh, yeah.
And now you can see a lot of the details in that cave, because when I watched it on broadcast TV all those years, it was just like, oh, it's a cave.
It's crushed.
Exactly.
Totally crushed.
Yeah.
Crushed in 480. It's like over the air.
So there are some, a lot of that movie takes place at night, and some of the blacks are still crushed. The Highlander, I think, did not do a very good job of fixing those black levels at all. Although some scenes are okay, it's just not very consistent. But I think it has a lot to do with the source also,
Right.
Anyway, that would be my number. 14.
Nice. I loved that movie. I loved the
Good choice. Yep.
Yeah, it was a great choice. The scenes of just going to the carnival, and and it's a nighttime scene, but you still get that nice, deep dark levels, but at the same time you get the bright lights of a carnival, right? And it just stuff like that just looked. And I thought the soundtrack was pretty good too.
Yeah, I thought it was too.
I loved the soundtrack of that movie growing up, and then to hear it again, it's in my theater. When that movie came out and I was talking about it, I'm like, I have never seen this movie like this. I don't think any of us have, because we didn't have these capabilities in the 80s when this movie came out. So that's a great choice. My number 14, Last Night in Soho. This was
Interesting.
Oh,
gosh, I forgot that was a 2022 release.
Yeah. It was this movie here. This is a movie I've been trying to get my wife to see. Not that she doesn't want to, but it's like when we go downstairs, it's not a light movie by any stretch, but it's not heavy. But is it a horror? Is it this? It's suspenseful. It has all of that. That's story stuff. But it's in the poster. The neon lights, the Soho, and everything. And then the colors and the tinting that they did between things that are going on in the movie, there were gradations there that actually meant something to the story itself. Sound as well. I thought it had the full package that you had to pay attention to everything all the way through this movie, right? Like you're looking at the picture like, why does this look a little bit different? But then the sound was pans and the things that are going on, and there was some action in here. Just a lot of fun that, it like I said, it had everything. You had to pay attention to everything, and it warrants multiple viewings as well. It's that type of a movie. So
Yeah, I would agree with you. I liked how they used the cinematography to paint the different environments featured in the story.
yes,
I thought that part of it was done very well. And I do agree with you that the overall presentation was as important to the story as it was to the viewing experience. So nice choice.
thank you. All right, what do you have for 13, Ralph?
We touched on this earlier. Pulp Fiction.
Nice.
Pulp Fiction made my top 15 for the reasons that you stated earlier. I've seen the movie, over the years in its various, home video incarnations, and I've pretty much always enjoyed it. But it's funny, but seeing it in Ultra HD in 4K with high dynamic range, and the improvements that they made to the grading, the color grade, it was almost like seeing it for the first time. It was fantastic, and it was something that, because you knew what was going on in the story, I was able to fully enjoy.
Yeah.
Because I didn't need to focus on the story. I could focus on what I was seeing. So I was able to get those little nuances out of it. And so for me, it rated very high. It gave it a 96 out of 100 for video. And I just thought it was phenomenal.
Before we move over to you, Jeff, the comment, I haven't even said this yet. I've been dying to bring this up, but I'm glad you mentioned Pulp Fiction too, because the opening scene with Honey Bunny and what is she called? He's Honey Bunny, I think, right?
Right.
Tim Roth. Have you tried, Ralph, listening to that scene? I listened at reference level, and I listened to the scene over and over, and I kept meaning to go back and really focus. But have you listened in your rear channels if you can hear Samuel Jackson and there's something going on back there? I can hear it. I just haven't been able to specify if that's actually what's going on back there, but I've never been able to hear that stuff before. And I think, it's the new cut, but it's also my system's better than it was the last time I watched this. So I'm like, that would be so cool, as if like that little nugget, like you could actually hear that in the back corner, because when you first see in the movie, you have no idea timeline shifts or anything like that, right? But now at the end, they're like, hey, that stuff's going on over there, and I wanted to get to the end, listen to the end scene or that conversation, then go back to the beginning and see if I could actually hear any words or anything. But there is something going on back there. I just haven't had a chance to break it down yet.
I'll have to see.
What do you got, Jeff, for your number 13? 13.
Well,
Sorry.
I'll throw another one in there.
Okay. We're on pins and needles.
Did I say Pulp Fiction was one of my honorable mentions?
Not yet.
Before? Okay.
Do you want that as your 13?
Well, I can flip-flop some of my 10 through 15s. That's the thing I'm thinking about, just so we
That's okay, because it's all going to get tabulated.
I'm going to agree with Ralph on this one. I think the image quality was very, very impressive.
Nice.
I loved how they handled the scene with John Travolta and Uma Thurman dancing. I love the color in the diner. That's a really good. I mean, that's a scene that's really unforgettable. I don't think there are any bad shots in that movie.
No.
Because when you could really scrutinize imagery when you're looking at it on an 85 inch or like a projection screen and it's 4K, you see all these mistakes. And man, it looked really good. I didn't see anything bad. The audio part, I wish they had done something with the audio. I think there are some parts that just seemed amateurish in terms of like the source
Really?
material. Yeah, there's a scene. You remember after Uma Thurman is after he, John Travolta stabs her with a needle or whatever.
Yeah.
They go back to this house and like the audio sounds really, really. It sounds echoey. It sounds like a echo chamber. It's just not very good. But yeah, I would put it in my top 10 to 15. It's a great classic movie. Okay. So
What I would say in contrast to the audio on that scene in particular is that leading up to that, when they're going around the house and it's that long shot scene, the audio on that is really good. It's the separate, again, it could be, maybe you're right, Jeff. It's maybe amateurish. I don't know. Ralph, is it the same audio track as the previous Blu-ray?
I believe that it is.
Yeah.
Are you talking about the scene when he first goes to pick her up? Or are you talking about the scene, Jeff, after the incident? You're talking about the scene after the incident where he has
Crashes.
to inject her, and then they go back to the house. She's talking about that. She's telling the joke or whatever. Is
Yeah.
that,
yeah.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. So that scene, I don't remember hearing anything that sounded out of place in that particular scene, given where they were in terms of they're standing outside, they're in the driveway.
It's like an alley.
Yeah, or an alley, and they're outside. So I didn't notice anything that sounded out of place where I thought that it didn't sound good or bad. I didn't.
Yeah. Well, the other one too is when they come home that night after Jack Rabbit Slims. Is that the name of the place?
Yep.
They go back to her house, I think. Anyway,
Yeah.
I don't know if it makes sense to keep discussing it, but the audio in the diner is excellent.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys experience this too, but I heard things going all around me.
Sure.
People talking at the table over there.
Yes.
Musician over there. Dialogue in front. It was great.
Yes.
I thought the scene at the house when he first gets there and she puts on the music or tells him to put the music
Son
on.
of
and
a
you hear the
Preacher Man?
voice over the. Yeah, I thought that scene sounded really good too.
I thought it sounded good, but here's where I'm going to go with Jeff. I thought they could have pulled her voice further off the front stage and put it over you a little better. Even though it's not Atmos, her voice was supposed to be like coming from an overhead speaker or something in the house. So like, and it was a little bit more front heavy. And I do remember, until we weren't just discussing it, I do remember thinking that. I'd forgotten about that. But it didn't detract from the movie at all. Son of a Preacher Man sounded incredible.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Ralph's
The
dying
bass.
to speak.
Yeah.
I just want to say that it wasn't the speaker wasn't supposed to be overhead. It was an intercom.
That's right.
And the
You're right.
intercom was it wasn't over his head. But when Son of a Preacher Man came on with the speakers that were in the room, that's when you got more of the feel of the space.
Yep.
But I lightly disagree that I thought that the sound should have been coming from overhead. I feel that it was coming from the intercom, which would have been
More to
in
the
line
front.
with where he was, more to the
Yeah.
front.
Maybe, and now that I'm thinking that you said that, maybe that's what I was thinking, is maybe the speaker was like on the right side, and there was something where it wasn't. They could have attached it to it, right? And they didn't. And that I do remember thinking that. So maybe that's what it was, Ralph. But again, I just remember thinking like they could have done a little better there. But the whole movie was great. And like you said, going through Jackrabbit Slims, the separation of channels, they literally, getting back to the beginning, the diner scene, you can hear different things going on in that diner as well, separation wise. And like I said, then the separation when they have that long shot scene when they're looking for the needle, they're looking for the book, and they're, I mean, that's one, it's not 1917 long shot, but it's a long shot that those actors have to be on point. And then to hear all those different sounds around you moving around the room, that's another fun scene that just like, oh, you got to watch that again. And yeah, great choice. So, like I said, tough year.
Good, all good stuff.
Yeah. All right. Little lighter hearted, but not so much. My number 13, Ghostbusters Afterlife. This was one that, I don't know about you guys. I didn't have high hopes for it going into the movie. But by the end of the movie, you're just like, oh, that was pretty good. I like that one. That was all right. Yep. And but from the opening scene to the end of the movie, the special effects, the 4K picture, the clouds that you saw looking up to that mountain, the separation you have there, the bass rumbles throughout this movie, the pans, everything. I thought this was another. You took Ghostbusters from the 80s and they, not a remake, but this is one of the most successful add-ons to an 80s movie that I can remember. And as a home theater experience, it's definitely my top 15 that, again, all year long just kept going back to this in my head. Like, oh, I got to mention this one. This one's fantastic. So
Good choice.
thank you. All right. We're down to 12. What do you got, Ralph?
All right, gents. This one is this one could be seen in two different places. This is Halo season 1.
Ooh.
Now,
Yeah.
Halo was on Paramount Plus streaming.
Yep.
So I first saw it there
Oh, I love it.
and I enjoyed it on streaming. I thought that the streaming quality of it was excellent. I thought
Yeah.
that the 5.1 channel sound was excellent at home. And then I got the 4K limited edition steelbook to review from CBS/Paramount. And it came with this crazy like briefcase. They
We're
sent me like
talking
this.
box covers, Ralph.
Yeah, so it was great. It came with,
Yeah, it was.
inside there were cards and it was a lot of great stuff that came along with the package. But the presentation on disc was better than the streaming quality, which I thought was excellent. And the presentation on disc included Atmos, which was a nice bump, which was also impressive. So overall, and I thought that the series was good. I enjoyed the series. I wasn't like a big player of the game or anything like that, but and from what I understand, it just borrowed from the game in concept more or less only. It was more of a sci-fi TV series
Yeah.
conceptually. But I enjoyed it. I thought that it was done very well streaming and got even better on physical disc.
Yeah. Yeah, it is one that crossed the streams there. There you go.
man.
Going from Afterlife to this. But yeah, there's another one. Until you said it, I'd forgotten about that one. And I too, I watched it on the stream, and I think I got on the stream. I can't remember. I was like 2 or 3 episodes shy of finishing it, and then I finished it up on physical. And you're right, the bump that you get but Paramount Plus, that was a quality stream. So in a great, I really enjoyed the story. A lot of the people that were detractors were the diehard players. And that's always the case, right? Even if it's a book or whatever, it's like, this isn't exactly the way I wanted it. Well, it's not for that. So, awesome choice. Love that one. What do you got, Jeff, for number 12?
Number 12, I have Werewolf by Night, streaming on Disney Plus.
Wow. I like
Have you seen it?
I've seen
I have
it.
not. I have not seen it.
It's an excellent little
Short.
of motif film. It's a 54-minute film. It's all in black and white. It came out around Halloween, which was perfect timing. It's directed by this music composer, the composer for Ratatouille and Up, which won an Oscar. Yes. Michael Giacchino, I think his name is.
Giancino, right?
Giacchino.
Yes.
That's right. Really fun 54 minutes. I couldn't take my eyes off it. So I highly recommend that to everybody. It's got a great Atmos track. The HDR is fantastic, although it's black and white. It's gorgeous film. I love the characters. It's really fun.
Oh man, I'm excited now because I remember I don't say that sarcastically because as a kid I remember the comic, Werewolf by Night. And I remember when it came out, and for some reason I never got around to it. I don't get a chance to watch as much streaming as I would like, but that was one that I remembered hearing about, was interested in, and
Mm.
I'm glad to hear that's on your list, Jeff. So great choice. I'm looking forward to it.
All
Yeah,
right.
I saw that one. I loved that one. I'm a big fan of these like 4K releases, 4Ks in black and white. I think there's so much more you can pull out of stuff like that when you take the color away. And it's like now you're not focused on the, oh, look at the pretty blues and yellows and everything, right? And it's now you can just really focus on shadow detail and gradations of the foundation of everything we're looking at. And this one here, it had, there was a little bit of color thrown in there purposefully through in the story. But yeah, I agree with you. I liked the story. Supposedly this is going to pay dividends in the MCU as well. A little bit of nuggets were in there, so we don't know yet. But yeah, great choice.
Great.
Back to the MCU with my number 12, Thor: Love and Thunder. As we were saying earlier, this movie here is, it's. Did I mention this one? No.
No.
I've talked about this. Anyways, Thor: Love and Thunder. It just. Oh, that was it. Multiverse of Madness, I was saying. But this is another one like that. I just thought this one was better than Multiverse of Madness. The colors in this one, so vibrant from beginning to end. Another story similar to Last Night in Soho, but way more dramatic. They actually used color and the cinematography to tell a part of the story. This was one that we all were fingers crossed, holding our breath. Is this going to be, is the Atmos track going to be like, the last Thor Ragnarok, like, and this one here, nope. This one nailed it. I thought this had the thunder. It brought it, and it was fantastic. It was, obviously we're down to 12. We're getting there in the top 10, and this is so close to making my top 10. I think a couple weeks ago it might have been there, but then as you're like dropping in, all right, I'm going to go boom, and then the number just keeps sliding down. But I absolutely loved this movie. Watched it quite a few times. Saw it in the theater, and then watched it a few times at home as well. So loved this movie.
Interesting. I saw it in the theater. I saw it at home. I enjoyed it. I guess I enjoyed it equally in the first time I saw it versus the second time I saw it. It's not my favorite Thor movie. It's not a bad movie. I don't think it's
Yeah.
as bad as everyone makes it out to be. So I enjoyed it. It's in my collection. And I agree with you that I thought that the home theater presentation was excellent. And I played with it coming into my list, but there were some others that kind of bumped it.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that you included it in yours because I think it's worth having a conversation about for sure.
Yeah. And that's the thing is I remember all through the year we were talking about stuff like this. There's one on here that didn't make any of my list that Ralph, you and I sat down and talked about. And
I know which one you mean.
yeah, and it's like it didn't make the list, so we can't mention it here. But that was so close, and you know how much I loved that movie. So imagine how I'm feeling about all of these.
Sure,
It's amazing. Yeah. So like I said, it's been a great year. And it was really hard to make if we had to just say 10 things, I think we would have. That's why we like
tough.
It's tough.
Be tough.
It's tough. So, all right, we're getting down to it. What do you got for number 11 there, Ralph?
I have Star Trek: The Motion Picture, the Director's Edition.
Ooh.
Interestingly, people complained about the various releases of this movie. Who has a favorite, who doesn't among the original Star Trek films. I've always liked it. It wasn't perfect before. It might not quite be perfect in the director's edition, but it's better for sure. So I had reserved expectations about what it was going to look and sound like on 4K with Atmos sound, and I could not have been more impressed by it. I thought it looked fantastic. I loved what they did with the application of high dynamic range and what it did for the various scenes in that movie that had specular highlights and and deep color. The colors, the types of colors that you see in a movie like that are usually going to be, blues and maybe some sepia and things like that. But shadow detail off the charts. The Atmos mix, I thought, was I was blown away by it. I mean, it's a movie from 1979, and sometimes they tend to either go too far or
Hmm.
not enough. And I thought that the balance here was spot on in terms of the thematic tone of the movie. I just loved it. So that was my pick for number 11.
Nice.
It looks I lost Ralph's visual here. Did you, DJ?
Nope, I still see him. It got a little
Okay.
speckly for a minute, but we're good.
Okay. I completely agree with you, Ralph. I mean, I think that Atmos track got a 5 out of 5 for me. I couldn't believe what they did. It wasn't sometimes when you throw in that Atmos, you're like, oh, let's just throw in some Atmos to do whatever. It fit perfectly with what the film was about. The visuals were well done. You got extra bonus material, which are, very small little tidbits, but stuff we've never seen before. Very, very impressed with it. And it's a theater film, it's a home theater film. So,
For sure.
yeah.
Is that your number 11, Jeff?
No.
Oh, okay. Sadly for me, I haven't seen that one, and it's kind of a complicated reason why. I tried to buy it. I pre-ordered it. Amazon screwed up my order. I couldn't get it. And then they were like, "Oh, you need to back out and buy this," and blah blah blah. So it never showed up at my house. Kaleidoscape doesn't have that version, the newer version. They don't have the Atmos track and all of that yet. And then by the time I got back around to going to get it, other movies were coming out this year, and I was moving on, and I never got around to it. But I am looking forward to it. I got to get back on Amazon and probably buy it again, or try and buy it again, anyways.
You had commented one time that you couldn't take 15 minutes of a pan of the Starship Enterprise. I love it. I love every
did you?
second of it. Every
Yeah,
second of that.
Ralph, you
And,
love that too.
Yeah, me too. Me too. It's like the opening to uh, Superman the movie.
Yes.
I could just sit and watch the opening to Superman the movie, with a whoosh and the credits coming up, and it's like that. It's forever, but I could watch it over and over. So yeah, I know exactly what you mean, Jeff.
Yeah.
And the music score, I mean,
Yep.
it's just it's part of it. It's like the thing about that is that the musical score for that movie is probably one of the best of all time.
Uh-huh.
It could be in the top 10 of all time, for me anyway. I mean, and so you're basically listening to this gorgeous music and seeing these really nice visuals of something that's scientific or sci-fi, right? I mean,
Yeah.
so it's great.
I'm gonna
I
have
agree.
to. I'm gonna have to watch that scene in Atmos now and see if I. It's not that I don't like it. I just thought it was funny, like how long and drawn out it is, and it's like why they're doing it. They're doing it for the fans because this movie was like begged for what, a decade, and and here it is, and like now we're gonna show you the Enterprise. It's like, oh my God. It's like,
What about the model making? What about the fact that
Yeah.
have you seen the model for that thing? I mean,
Yeah.
it's like you could almost fly that thing. It's so big, and the amount of artwork that the time they spent creating those models is just incredible. So
yeah.
Yep.
Yep. So, all right. What's your number 11, Jeff?
oh, me?
Yeah, you. I asked you if that was it, and you
Okay.
said no.
I have to give I have to give my props to Mr. Spike Lee from Malcolm X.
Uh-huh.
Okay, is this like wow home theater experience crap? Noises, immersive, Atmos, blah blah. No, but I loved I had to mention one of Criterion's in my list. I thought they did a really nice job keeping a sort of vintage film look to it because they didn't oversaturate the colors. And one of the things that I was afraid of is that the zoot suits would be, like blinding me because of the bright colors and the red hat that Malcolm X wears and stuff. But I thought it was a great job. I really love the packaging. I mean, I've got it right here. I mean, this is really beautiful packaging. What did you call it? Little
Box
books.
covers.
It goes to the box cover.
box covers, but you've got this beautiful, custom stuff that they did for it, and it's just like little booklets, just a lot of fun. And I think anybody who hasn't seen this film should really try to experience it on a big screen at their house.
Yeah.
And really dive in. It's a great film. I wish it won more awards than it did.
Just carve out some time.
Yeah.
It's not short.
Oh,
Yeah.
Good movie though.
yeah.
Good
I haven't
movie, though.
seen that in years. I haven't seen
Yeah,
that
I
one
have,
in
I have the
years.
Criterion as well, Jeff, and I agree with you 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. All right. My number 11, Stranger Things season 4 from Netflix. This was an event. This was one of those shows that it honestly should have been dropping weekly, because Netflix does all of theirs all at once, and people blast through them. I think they're doing themselves a disservice, especially on a show like this, because there were so many things, there were so many times people wanted to talk about stuff and they're like, I'm done with it, but I'm not done with it. I haven't finished it yet. And it's like, but as a home theater experience, this is up there with your, like, any Game of Thrones or they have great, production quality in their stuff, even going back to HBO, not HBO Max. I'm talking HBO. Which we're seeing now when the discs are coming out. But Stranger Things, it's like they took, like I said earlier about the Adam Project, and like feature length quality and put it into every single episode. This is one of those things, and that's why I had it at 11, just outside of my top 10. I tried to get it into my top 10. But this is one of those things that people have pointed to say, hey, why doesn't Netflix release like Stranger Things to the theater? And you go to the theater and this room's playing episode 1, this one's playing, because they're talking about theaters are hurting, but they've got these multiplexes and don't know what to do with the rooms. People were talking about this because of its home theater experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I saw it and I agree with you. It was a total package.
Yeah. All right. Losing my voice on that one. Got a tickle there. All right. That's it. We're getting into the top 10 now. What do you got for your number 10?
Number 10. We talked about it earlier, gents. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
Nice.
Whoever brought it up earlier, all the same stuff applies. Not a great movie, not the best movie to come out of the MCU, but start to finish, it looked and sounded great.
Mm-hmm.
So that one made my number 10. I really enjoy that.
Yeah, that I mentioned that. It didn't crack my top 15. It just kept getting pushed down. I thought Thor: Love and Thunder as a home theater experience beat it out a little bit. But it was absolutely, I actually like that story better than Love and Thunder. I think it's going to play out even more in the MCU.
Sure.
And another one that I watched multiple times. And there was, I don't know why, but people have these little they get upset because it doesn't have the right amount of bass in it. It's like, this had the bass. This sounded great. It was appropriate. There were pans. There were this, when they were going through the multiverse and you add that 4K in the different multiverses that had some had colored, and it was insane. And all of that in 4K HDR, absolutely insane. Looked absolutely fantastic. Loved it.
100%.
Great number 10. Jeff, do you want to
My
retort?
number 10. And I think I said that I thought the movie was pretty thin. I didn't really enjoy the script. I didn't think it was written well. Technically, yeah, home theater wise, multi-channels, multi-universe. It was great. Yeah, I mean, but I can't watch it again. I don't think I can watch it again. My number 10, and the only reason why it's number 10 is because it was released previously in the Columbia Pictures Volume 1 edition, and that would be Lawrence of Arabia.
Sure.
Yep. Nice.
That
was it. I had that as...
There's very little that needs to be said about Lawrence of Arabia in 4K. I remember when it was released in 2020 as part
Yeah.
of the Columbia Classics collection, Volume One,
Mm.
and I waxed poetic about it then. I waxed poetic about it when it was released on Blu-ray
Mhm.
originally. It's just a total video package. It's phenomenal. I couldn't agree more that it is deserving. For me, since it had come out in 2020 already, it didn't really make my list for this year. I know they released a steelbook version of it
Yeah.
this year. Uh, I think that's the first time it was released separately, right? On
Hmm.
4K.
This
Yes.
year,
So I
yeah.
could see where it would certainly be deserving. But for that reason, it didn't make my list this year, but it certainly could have.
That's why I listed it, just because I think it's important that people see this film in the quality that it is right now. And I heard DJ's friend John there didn't really care for the film, which I was very, very shocked about. Um, he said it was too slow. Was it?
Yeah, it was because it's longer movie and whatever, but I mean, he liked the whole overall the thing, but
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, you have to take it. You have to put
I love
films
the story.
relative to their time period,
Sure.
right? I mean, you just can't say. I mean, that's like saying, you know, 30 years from now, somebody sees Saving Private Ryan and they're like, "Oh, it was kind of long. What took them so long to find Saving Private Ryan?"
Right, right, right.
Like,
To
what
save
took, what
Private Ryan.
took them so long? You know, like, yeah. I mean, I think, but the visuals are what they did with the audio is just beyond amazing for a film of this age. That it's one of the best sounding films that I've ever seen, from especially from that age, or God, even up to the 80s. I don't think I've heard some stuff sound as good as that. So
Yeah,
yeah.
and
Yep, great choice for sure.
those scenes of the desert. I mean, obviously you're in the desert most of the film, but
Yeah.
you would expect that or at least I did, a movie of that age to look that clear and look that good and have that consistent of like film grain that you're supposed to have there, but you don't want to mix it up with sand, and you don't. It's like there's so
Oh,
it it looked amazing,
the
absolutely
the
amazing.
making of the film is another part of this that you will love if you dig into the
Mm-hmm.
extras on this thing, and how they had to cover up the cameras and they overheating and this and that. And
Sure.
but there are shots, like there's a shot of Lawrence, he's laying in the desert, and you can almost tell the time on his watch,
Yep.
his wristwatch. It's
Yep.
that good.
So
Yep.
good,
Okay.
so good. All right, my number 10, Jurassic World Dominion.
Oh,
This is it cracked my top 10 from beginning to end. There's some Atmos stuff in here, there's bass in here, it's got everything that you want your fun summer blockbuster movies to have. And there's a scene when they're the flying dinosaurs, and I forget the names because I think some of them they made up, not just pterodactyls, there's other ones, but they're attacking a plane or coming at them.
Sure.
And it's like they're on your room and you're like, what there's that. Dinosaurs off to the sides, there's dinosaurs running by you on all sides of your rooms. Did I say there's dinosaurs? It's just so much fun. And as a home theater experience, you just it's another one of those ones from this year that any other year this would probably be in your top 3. But it was so good, and the picture too. The picture with the special, so heavily special CGI, and they're getting so good at it. And to look at these eyes, you're getting close-ups of eyes and irises that change. It's so good, looked so good. So really
I
enjoyed that
think
one.
that's a great choice, DJ. That one is one that I should have considered. I don't know why I didn't for some reason, but I saw that in the theater and I saw it at home. One of my favorite scenes is the scene that begins in the marketplace where I think it was a black market. They were
Yeah.
selling dinosaurs or selling, the animals or whatever. And then you have this whole sequence that starts with this chase with the raptors that are chasing him when he's on the motorcycle, and it goes all the way out to the airport. And that's just one of my favorite sequences in the movie. I do remember the scene you're talking about when they're in the airplane and back at the base or whatever, they shut off the thing that keeps the flying
Yeah.
birds away. And yeah, that's a great scene. But I love the scene to take place at night, or even in the bowels of the caves and things below, where the what's the Sam Neill's character, and they have the little girl with them and Laura Dern. They're trying to work their way through the bowels to get out before they get to that gate that doesn't open. And those
Mm.
things are down in there coming out of the dark. There's some really, really good interstitials there that you can see in the variations of blacks in the backgrounds
Yeah.
that just look fantastic. Yeah, great choice.
Yeah.
And how about the scene where they're giant locusts, right, that are destroying the farms?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's really great immersive stuff right there.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's awesome. So, and it has an extended edition, which one of the few extended editions out there where that's the must-see version. I thought I saw it in the theater, and I wasn't as enamored with it in the theater than watching it at home. So much better. And what I found was the theater I was seeing it in just didn't have the bass response, so it wasn't able to envelop you into the movie. And then when I got it home and you get that full immersion and then really start to pay attention, then watch the extended version, it's just it has it all. So
When you have dual subwoofers, don't you, DJ?
Yep.
Are you able to tell any difference between when the dinosaurs are walking, like what side they might be on or anything like that, or is it just kind of come at, you can?
Yeah, you can. I mean, it's they can, if you want to hear it, like you'll feel some bass, but then they can localize as well. It sounds pretty good.
I don't have dual bass subwoofers, so I was just wondering if there is any separation of that.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
usually
Low
outside of the
frequencies.
subwoofer level to make you think that it sounds like it's over there. You'll feel it because of the subwoofers, but then they'll use the
Yeah,
rest of the channels to pull your ear and your brain over that way or wherever.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
In terms of the actual signal that's being sent to the low frequency effects channel,
It's not.
there's no separation in terms of, well, there's a
Right.
feature that's on the left side of the room that you're going to feel more. But as DJ points out, the imaging in the speakers in the bed channels or whatever, that's what's going to draw your attention to what's happening as you're watching. But I have dual subs too, but yeah, so there's no way to do that, but it's certainly going to seem that way.
Yeah.
But so they're stereo in a way, but they're not part of the surround sound mix.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. It's two subs are doing the same job. It's basically one channel. So,
Gotcha. Okay.
yep. All right, Ralph, number 9.
Talked about it already. I feel kind of bad. You guys kind of, went and tore up some of my top 10. here
Here's where
before.
we should be getting a lot of crosstalk. That's the
Right.
thing.
Edge of Tomorrow. Edge of Tomorrow
Okay.
is number 9 for me. I love the movie. I've always loved the movie. I was blown away by what they did with the Atmos track. There was a lot of whining about this and that, but listen, there's nothing wrong with that Atmos track. People were talking about, the whole scene in the beginning with the bass, blah blah blah. That opening low frequency sine wave tone has nothing to do with the movie.
Right.
Okay? So the fact that they dialed that back a little bit didn't really bother me because it didn't really impact the remainder, in my opinion, the remainder of the handling of low frequencies in the film. I thought the balance was spot on. The Atmos effects were complementary. I thought that they perfectly fit within the things that I was seeing on screen and drawing me into what was happening. I also thought that the handling of the video was done extremely well in 4K. For me, it was, it got a perfect technical rating for Atmos and a very, very high rating for the quality of the video. So that one made number 9 for me.
Yeah, that we talked about that a while ago when it first came out, Ralph, and we were like, that sine wave at the beginning, like you said, I felt like they cleaned it up. It sounded nicer to me.
Right.
It wasn't as rude or dirt. It just felt, when you actually A/B the two, it just felt a little bit cleaner and nicer. It more, I don't know how to put it, but it just felt cleaner. And then, like you said, the Atmos tracks, like when he's first, I should say, you can't really say first because he does it a bunch of times, but he gets dropped off and the speakers overhead telling all the troops where to go and stuff, but they're
Right.
all around your room, everything. The Atmos in this is plenty of action scenes over and over and over, and the stuff going on there. I thought the bass throughout the movie was fantastic, and this is one that lots of discussion about people, headline reading and just saying, oh, that, the bass isn't as good. All they did is watch the first literally 10 seconds. Right. And then you're going to throw away the entire movie because of something didn't live up to what might not even have been the standard. That might have, the original one might have been a mistake, but everybody's like, oh, that's crazy loud. Yeah, yep. So was that guy's stereo in his Ford Tempo over there with a, I'm like, but that's not right. It's like, so, all right. Yeah, I can go on all day, but excellent choice. Love that at number 9 for you. All right, Jeff, what do you got, buddy?
I had Ghostbusters Afterlife at number 9.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
I like what they did with the script. I like how they integrated the old characters. I mean, that's kind of a trend now, but I also think that they had a really good story there. And it beat out for me. Sometimes movies in terms of story beat another movie out because it's better, but I also think about watchability, rewatchability, like which would I rather watch more? And Ghostbusters Afterlife has a better storyline. I like how the newer characters, I love how they start talking about seismic activity and it gets into that, like the scientific part of it. The plasma guns sound great.
Yeah.
Sure.
When they first try those out, I mean,
all good stuff.
Oh
yeah. So yeah, that's my number 9, right?
Number 9.
Nice, solid.
Nice. I like that. See, now we're actually matching here. I had it at 13. You had it at 9. My number 9, Spider-Man: No Way Home. I could talk to you about this movie all day long. The story, the cheers you got when you saw it in the theater, the cheers you watched when you got home. Remember seeing it in the theater and the experience that you had there. But then the 4K, that scene in particular when you see Electro first and Spider-Man's in the black suit, but all the wires and stuff. It's a dark nighttime scene, but then Electro shows up, and then seeing the sky behind him and the dark trees, but the blue of the sky, which is nighttime, but then the lightning from just Jamie Foxx. It just looked amazing. Absolutely amazing throughout the movie, because that's just one where the HDR to me just really stood out. But then the rest of the movie, so much sound action throughout the movie. I can't believe this is a 9. I had this like when the day it came out. This is like another one that you're like, this is going to be my number 1 for the year, and here it is at number 9, and it's an absolutely amazing movie.
Good choice.
Thank you. All right. What do you got for number 8, Ralph?
So we were talking earlier about black and white films. Number 8 for me is Casablanca.
Oh, so good. How do
it's funny. Casablanca was the first article that I wrote up for Sound and Vision.
Yeah.
That's the first one I wrote for them. And as a film, it's interesting because it's so old, but there's this timeless feel to that movie, that the things that take place in that film could easily have taken place today. In general terms, I was blown away by the quality of the restoration, because getting used to looking at films that are colorless or in black and white is something that takes getting used to, because we've become so accustomed to being visually engaged by colors and so forth and so on. But looking at that, the handling of the high dynamic range, the scenes that take place outside at the cafe with the sun kind of coming down over the top and glistening through the coverings onto one side of their faces while illuminating that, but you still have the shadows and this side. Phenomenal stuff. Deep blacks, the resolution, to me, it belies the film's age. The quality of the resolution. So Casablanca had to be my top 10.
That's
great.
Fantastic.
That's a great choice.
That I love that, like you were saying about the lighting and stuff. A lot of that plays into the actual cinematography, the filmmaking, right? And lighting it just that way so that you can get that on camera. I remember saying a lot of that stuff with Psycho, and the lighting in that, and you're looking at you're right. It's like you have the bright side of their face, but then to be able to see details and stuff in the shadows there. What I liked is I mentioned this when we were talking about it. The smoke, so much smoking, right? All the way through. That's what they did everywhere, and it almost looked 3D. Like looking at the smoke in the background,
hanging in the air.
Yeah, and it just. But how they did that's one of those things in movie making. Don't have somebody smoking, because when you jump cut, you'll go to another cut and you'll try to edit it, and it's like, okay, well, he just exhaled here, but in this cut it's not there. So, but we're gonna come back. But they nailed it. Like they were cutting away and then going, and then it's like the person would walk by behind them and you would see the swirls. It was, like you said, the clarity of this movie. It allowed you to be like, wow, I'd never seen that before, and it's just, honestly, another one that you can't say, like, I've never seen it this way before. I grew up watching it on a little television my dad would be like, this is a great movie. I'm like, I'm not really getting this as a kid, but now you understand it. Like you said, it's so timely and timeless that you're just such a great choice. Oh, I can't. And as soon as you said it, I was like, why don't I have that one? Oh, so good. All right. Jeff, what do you got at number 8?
Oh, that's my turn. And we've already talked about it, Edge of Tomorrow. So
oh, nice.
We don't need to go too much further into it, except that I can't watch it again. I feel like I watched that movie 1,000 times, which you probably all have too, right?
Yeah.
And when the 4K disc came in, I said, "Oh my God, am I gonna have to watch this movie again?" But it was, you know why? I mean,
first world problems, buddy.
It's over and over and over and over.
Oh, give me the popcorn.
But I'm good. I could watch it.
The Atmos was just spectacular.
Yeah.
What they did everything was just. I didn't even need to really watch it. I just closed my eyes for a while and just listened to this film.
Yep.
And I felt like I was in a battle with blinders on. It was amazing what they did. Great film. Real underrated film for the time it came out. I think it's because they didn't know what to call it.
That's so true. It's true.
Yeah. They're like, we don't have a title for this film. It's a great film, but what do we call it? And that goes out to the audience. Like what is it called?
Well, Live, Die, Repeat. No, Edge of Tomorrow. Live, Die, Repeat. No, Edge of
Tomorrow. Yeah. What I thought, think about that too. We've forgotten about that part. When that came out and it was called Live, Die, Repeat, that was right around the time that it was kind of the separation for guys like me. I would tell my son, he'd play video games. It's like, live, die, repeat. You just keep on going in the game. When we were kids, if you died, that was it. You had to start the entire game over on your Atari 2600 or whatever. You were like, I was so close. And it's like,
there's no respawning.
Yeah, no responding, no saving where you were in the mission. Yep. And these were like hour-long things, hour and a half long storylines that you had to get through. And then you die and you're like, oh, I got to do that again. So it was the kind of the separation of that. This movie coming out was like, that's the generation's mindset. Is like, oh, I just die. I'll just respawn and come back.
Sure.
And now they made a creative take on that in this movie that until you just said that, Jeff, it's like you forget like that's another part of this movie too. But great home theater experience. Another good choice. All right, what are we on? That was your number 8. So my number 8, House of the Dragon from HBO Max. This was like I wanted Stranger Things to be. This was, appointment viewing every week. Whether you watched it live when it aired or, in time to talk to your buddies about it. And the story, maybe not people, I didn't have a problem with it. Some people have a problem. Some people aren't too crazy about it. I love the story, but as a home theater experience, week after week, HBO is pushing the envelope here. And then you get those episodes like we did in Game of Thrones, when you had season 8, episode 3, and you have that completely dark episode that makes the whole world go crazy. And you're like, I've got calibration. I don't have a problem here. And then it's stuff like this that I think is pushing this hobby. And HBO Max or HBO is doing a fantastic job with this, because it's, whether you like the show, love the show, you heard about the show one way or another. And then people with great, a good setup, whether it's an OLED television that, hey, that scene looked good to me, but the spark of conversation that came from all this, and then wanting to have a good theater, it's selling product, actually. And it's like, people were like, how do I get that? How do I get my picture to look good enough on that? And then other comments, why are they doing this to us? Why can't they just why can't they just do it so everybody can see it? Well, because they want everybody to try and get to that level, right? And it's like, that's why it had to crack my top 10 because of that. And it is a great home theater experience too. So.
Saw it, and I generally agree with your comments, man.
Huh?
I saw it, and I generally agree with your comments. Nothing more to add to that.
Generally.
I thought he said I don't agree with your comments.
Yeah, I know. That's why I was like, what?
Yeah,
What?
No.
Well,
I was
no.
like, and then he hangs up.
What
Whoa!
did you say, Ralph?
Yeah.
I know. Like,
But this is certainly worth a deeper discussion, and I just wrote an article about the best cinematic series in streaming or whatever. Everything's become darker. There's a darker palette. Everything's more cinematic looking. I mean, I think we started seeing that with the dawn of HD TV, but everything was still sort of brighter and looked more like TV, like traditional TV. I think when I categorize something when I call cinematic series, I'm thinking about what it would look like, in a theater, super wide, right?
right.
I don't classify something like the Jack Ryan series as cinematic. It still has that TV feel to me.
Yeah.
Sure.
But something like House of the Dragon is just it's extremely dark. And I think you're right, DJ. I mean, people need to up their game if they really want to see these shows the way they're meant to be seen.
Yeah.
They're just the values have all dropped down to the darker palettes, which is fantastic. But man, I mean, look, I just installed for my parents, who I went to their house for the holidays, and their TV was blue. I said, what's wrong with your TV? And they said, oh, it's the cable guy. They messed up something. I said, no.
The cable guy.
So I bought them, a lower end brand of TVs, and I'm not going to say what brand it was, but I got it home, and I got the sound bar and everything, and oh God, it was horrible. They'll never know the difference.
Right.
Sure.
But I was wondering how you guys feel about when you get into a situation where you're at a friend's house or a family, and they just the TV's really bad or the audio's really bad. I mean, how do you deal with that situation?
Well, for me, I just tend to ignore it.
Yeah.
Because it depends on the person.
Mhm.
There are some people, if it's family and they're looking at it and they're saying to you, I don't know, I've tried, I can't get this thing to look any better, or
Right.
how does that look to you? That's different. When you go to someone's house and they have a setup that they're raving about and you're looking at it going, then I just let it go.
Yes.
I just
Yes.
let it go. If they're happy with it, then it doesn't
Absolutely.
really matter because I don't have to look at it.
Mhm.
So that's more or less my approach.
Yeah. That's. I just talked about this in my podcast yesterday. Unsolicited criticisms, and it's like, if somebody's really happy with their setup, regardless of what we see or hear, you just like, hey, yeah, that's great. But if they're like, how can I improve this? Then you're like, oh, well, you see, and then you start to teach them. Like, if they don't know what they're missing, all the power to them. It's like if you're in a room and like Ralph and I are hanging out, and he goes, do you hear that buzzing noise? Well, I didn't. Thanks for, now all of a sudden all you can hear is a, but you didn't hear it before, right? And it's like, it's stuff like that. and it's like it is kind of funny. It's like there is a learning curve to this hobby in that, you know, I'm seeing and hearing stuff I couldn't see and hear years ago, and we've been trained to understand and appreciate is more the better way to put it instead of understand, to appreciate the differences. And you could point out all day long to your parents or anybody that are unwilling, and they're like, oh, but you could have better black levels here, and they're like, what do you mean by that? They don't know what you're talking about. They don't know what they're missing. So that's how I do it. What I find funny is my family, my wife and my kids. They will leave places. Dad, they're television. I'm like, but since they were little kids, we've all known, like, don't say anything when you're there.
Yep.
But yeah, it's fine. As long as they're happy, I'm happy.
That's really funny. Okay.
All right. We moving on to number 7 here? Is that right?
7.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Ralph, number 7.
Number 7 for me is the Batman.
Oh, nice. Very, very nice.
I don't really know what to add in terms of the Atmos presentation, because this is a movie we were talking about these dark, everything is, the palette is shifted, things are dark. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that today filmmakers are aware that they can successfully apply their vision to the color grading, to the cinematography for whatever story it is or narrative that they're trying to convey. So I think that's what, we see in films like The Batman. And this is a movie that relies on stark visuals, dark visuals, contrasting elements that are light and dark, simultaneously light and dark. And along with that, a punishing Atmos track that is an end-to-end experience. So The Batman is number 8 for me.
7.
7. Sorry, 7. Sorry, 7.
Yeah, that's a great choice. I'll reserve my comments for we'll be talking about it again soon.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, exactly. Spoiler alert. But yeah, all of that and more.
I have at my number 7 the Northman. The Northman.
Yes.
It's definitely a genre film that,
Yeah.
It's like the movie Conan, which I think DJ and I have discussed before.
Yeah.
Conan, his dad gets killed. He wants revenge. He goes off and gets strong, like building his muscles. He comes back. But it's got a really incredible soundtrack that just shakes your room. I mean, it's just incredible what they did with the Atmos with this one. The color palette's extremely dark. I mean, I think a lot of these films that we're getting up to the top levels are kind of in a darker palette. I don't know what else to say. I don't know why Nicole Kidman's in the movie. It just seemed kind of odd.
Talk about a tangent.
That's a topic for another day.
That's a different topic. But
in spite of that, I have it at number 7.
Well,
that was great.
I made the mistake one time of not ranking The Revenant, which in the top 10, which is a top 10. And I didn't want to make the same mistake with The Northman. They're hard films to watch. But I think the quality of the video deserves recognition. I think as a home theater experience, again, it's a specific genre. I mean, you have to like this kind of thing. It goes into the fantasy a little bit, dreamland, dream states and all this kind of stuff. But I did want to recognize it. It didn't get as much attention as it could have in the theaters. And maybe a lot of people didn't like it either. But
I thought it was a great art piece. I thought. You didn't see it, Ralph?
Oh, I saw it.
Oh, okay.
Not a huge fan. Didn't hate it. Didn't love it.
Yeah.
But I do agree that it is a film that you should see if you're a film enthusiast. It's not one that I would reach for, where I would have I'm kind of jonesing to watch The Northman.
Yeah.
It's not one of those.
Yeah.
But I do agree with Jeff that it certainly has a place in this discussion. and it's definitely a cinematic experience at home and in the theater.
Yeah. I hope it has a place in the discussion because it's coming up again.
Okay,
Spoilers again. There we go.
well,
All
you're
right.
all over the place.
Yeah, so all right, my number 7. We've already mentioned it. Everything Everywhere All at Once. One of you brought it up
Wow,
as a
great.
Cool.
I did. Honorable
yep,
mention.
honorable mention, right?
Yeah, good stuff.
It was Everything Everywhere All at Once is this one took me a little while to get to see, and I am so glad I did, because this is one where the home theater experience actually plays into the storyline as well. We have all the variable aspect ratios, different quality of filmmaking throughout. It seemed the Atmos sound. It was absolutely amazing playing into this. The bass in here, the pans, it had Everything Everywhere All at Once, and this is the movie that, and I'm not the first one to say this. Everybody has said this. This is what the Multiverse of Madness should have been. This is that story. It was that good, that crazy, but just so much fun that when you sit down in your theater, whether it's a living room theater, your dedicated theater, whatever it is, the theater experience adds to this movie. I can't even imagine watching this just on a regular television in a living room with all the lights on and everybody going, this is kind of crazy. Well,
Right.
yeah, and it's supposed to be. So
Sure.
that's why I had it number 7.
Good choice, DJ.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Ralph, what do you have at number 6?
The Godfather trilogy.
The entire
Excellent.
trilogy?
The
Excellent.
entire trilogy. There's not much more that needs to be said on that, other than I loved the handling of it. I love the trilogy as a package, and I just I had to, it was one that I felt that needed to be recognized and discussed here as one of the best releases of 2022. So it made it to my top 10.
Nice. I loved that. I loved the restoration version of them. It did. The 4K looked so good. The sound was so and again, all these movies that are getting re-released in 4K and stuff, or released for the first time, I should say, that you're like, I've never seen it like this. I've never, you wasn't able to see it ever like this. And again, I think both of you guys I've talked to earlier this year be like, even the theaters when we were younger weren't as good as what we have at home now.
Right.
Sure.
And to be able to see these things, it is great choice. The entire trilogy, you're right, is a great choice.
The other thing about that was that I wanted to mention that for those of you listeners who don't want to buy the trilogy, it did release in single edition
Yes.
steelbooks.
Right. Right.
So you could pick up one of those. I mean, the 1 and 2 are must-haves. 3 is give or take, but anyway.
Yeah.
So what number are we on now?
We are on 6.
We're on 6. Okay. Just want to make sure I got the right one. Okay, so my number 6 was Star Trek: The Motion Picture, the director's edition.
Okay.
Who had that ranked?
Ralph.
It's-
Ralph
I
had
had
it
that
at
at
11.
At 11, yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I think this is a great home theater experience. I don't know if they're ever going to play it in a real theater again, but maybe someday. The thing that's important about this release is that there was never even a Blu-ray release of the director's edition,
Right.
which director Robert Wise, apparently, as the story goes, he was rushed into getting this thing into the theater, so he didn't really ever get the version that he wanted released. So they spent, apparently the Paramount team or whoever does the restoration spent about 6 months with these negatives and the sound, and I think they did a fantastic job. I mean, it's one of the best restorations I've seen, so highly recommended.
Great choice, buddy.
Nice. I can't wait to see it.
You can do a bathroom. You can take a bathroom break when they're panning the Enterprise.
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Bad, I could have dinner.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Oh, Lawrence of Arabia was so long.
We had that discussion, and I pushed back on that. I'm like, I think that was just long because at the time everybody thought it was long. Compared to movies today, it's not that long. It's 3 hours. We have plenty of movies that come out that are that long that we love.
Avatar. The Way of Water.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if we can. I love the movie, but yeah, those aren't really. That's like more of events. It's cinematic events. Yeah. All right. Speaking of long movies, my number 6, RRR on Netflix.
Oh my goodness, you're so funny.
Haven't seen it.
Oh, Ralph, buddy, pack a lunch. It's get yourself a soda and sit down. You're probably gonna have to take it is long. It's over 3 hours, but it's awesome. Absolutely insane. It's got picture like Rambo and like Singing in the Rain all at once. There's action and singing and dancing and everything. And it's from India. Yeah, you're looking it up.
Is that your Ralph, when you watch this film, I almost guarantee that if you watch the first 5 minutes, you won't walk away.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's interesting, and it might be sort of a cultural thing too, because it's very Indian. The film is very it's the first sort of like blockbuster Indian film that I've really, I think, sat down and watched. Incredible visuals, the visual effects are real. The CGI stuff is incredible.
Yeah. Great
sound, fun story.
Wow.
I just completely forgot to put it in my honorable mentions. I mean, that's
all right.
This
is
good.
All right. So Werewolf by Night and RRR. Yes.
Yeah, you're gonna. I have a feeling when you're gonna be tweeting like, "Where have you been all my life?" After you see this movie, because
you're hyping it up here. You better take it back.
I'm telling. No, because I can't hype it up, right, Jeff? You can't hype this up because you don't know what you're in for when you see it. Because I've never seen anything like it, and it's like
the wedding scene.
Oh my God, yeah. It's
all right. You got me. All
right.
Now.
That's my number 6. Enough on that. All right, you guys don't have it, so I know how to score you. I can't wait for you to see it, Ralph. No. I have a special score for if you don't have it, just to keep the rankings.
You can
tight.
throw it in my honorables, DJ.
No.
It's just something I forgot.
No,
so.
we're good. All right. We're on to number 5. We're getting down to the top 5 here. What do you got, Ralph?
Okay. So we have to. We all understand that.
Why are you biting your tongue at number 5?
we all understand.
I know.
With caveats.
So they're not all great. They're not all great. All great movies, but they look and sound great. Number 5 for me is Moonfall.
Oh.
So Moonfall is Roland Emmerich blockbuster that came out earlier in the year. I watched the movie. I rolled my eyes probably a good way through it. Okay.
The moon fell.
I'm like, huh? What did they do? But I couldn't not enjoy the visual and audio feast that it is.
Right.
On home video. I don't have to go into the details about it. It just looks great. It sounds great. You turn it up and you sit back and you just let it wash over you. So
duck a little.
Number 5. Yeah, duck a little.
Ralph, thank you so much for that choice. Absolutely. You're 100% right, because that movie is what this entire top 10 is all about. And it didn't make my top 10. I'd forgotten about it, but it's not one. It's one that should be in there. I'm glad that's your number 5. I'm glad it made your top 5, because everything you just said is what this podcast is about, is what this episode is about. It's like the home theater experience. And you're absolutely right, because I talked about it earlier this year. Like Hurricane Heist is another one from years ago.
Right.
Like I watched that. You're like, come on. You like leave your brain at the door, leave it at the neighbors. You got to get it pretty far away for some of these movies, but the home theater experience is awesome. And I'm so glad you brought it up. Thank you. That's an awesome one. Go ahead,
my
Jeff.
4K Blu-ray edition of Moonfall will never see the light again.
See, now he had to add that.
Yeah,
He had to add that
You
in
couldn't
there.
go out on a high note. This is a bright
Couldn't
side.
just say, Ralph, you know what? I'll
No.
give it to you. No.
No, Ralph, I completely agree. The technical aspects.
Yeah.
Yeah. The story, I can't comprehend what the producers were thinking. DJ, we talked about this before, and didn't we have a solution for this film? We kind of discussed, like, how could this film just could have been...
Yeah.
There was an easy solution to just make it... I don't know what it was, but...
Yeah. I liked the story. There was just a couple of things they did that just like, come on, physics, people. It's just entry-level physics.
Oh, no, we said about this film that this is what our conversation was. And I'm sorry to dwell on this, Ralph. Because
I'll take a nap. You guys go ahead.
Yeah.
I did. I digged. I poked you a little bit on that one. But what we were discussing is that when a film is this bad on
Story.
paper,
Yeah.
you have to do something to sell copies of it.
But that's Roland Emmerich, right? He loves to make and I love his movies for that reason. He's a home theater nerd like we are. He loves to bring this stuff out, and it's like when his movie, he has some good movies anyway. Steve George and I joke about Midway. He doesn't like it. I love Midway. It's a passion project of Roland Emmerich's. It's a great home theater experience. And then when you get into the nitty gritty on why he made the movie, and that there's a lot more there. But still, it's like you said, it's almost like a comic book foundation to a lot of his movies, just to be like, I haven't done this in a room yet. How can I make your room like do this? And then they write the movie around that, and you're like, okay, so that's Moonfall. All right. So I love it, but that's what we're here for, right? That's what we're here for, and that's why I love that choice.
I'm glad you mentioned it for sure.
Absolutely.
All right, thanks, guys.
One of us.
Jeff, what do you have then at number 5?
What am I at? What are we at? 5?
5.
Yeah.
I've got Spider-Man No Way Home at number 5.
Nice.
I thought it was a really good movie. I thought it has great atmos. I think the visuals are incredible. I think the story was great. The latest Spider-Man stuff is really good. Into the Spider-Verse is a really good film also. I think I've got it ranked at like one of the best of all time.
And a great presentation too.
In terms of presentation and movie. I mean, I think the scripts for the new Spider-Man movies have been so good. And I have to I'm sorry, but when I talk about home theater experiences, I have to put in some script because I think about rewatchability. Am I ever gonna put this thing in the can again? And not in the can. That's in the player,
in the tray.
We know what you mean.
We got you.
We know what you mean.
So yeah, I mean, I have to say I'm getting a little tired of the MCU. We talk about this, DJ, the sharpness, depth, everything is sharp. There's no shallow depth of field going on. There's no bokeh happening in these MCU films at all, for the most part. I think we talked about Doctor Strange having some of that.
Yeah.
More cinematic
depth,
range
perception.
Of focus, interest. Yeah.
They're so worried about Easter eggs in the background that if you put them out of focus, you don't get to see them.
That could be it. That could be it.
I think
I think it's recommended for this year for sure. Yeah.
Cool.
Good.
All right, my number 5, kind of on the lines of Moonfall, Ambulance. Another one where, story-wise, not the strongest story, but damn, the HDR in this, the shots of the sirens, the lights and everything, the contrast. It was this movie from beginning to end. You were just you're on the edge of your seat. Yes, you're sitting here going, by the end of the movie, you're like, that could have happened 2.5 hours ago. How they ended it. And you're like, okay. But that would have ended a great roller coaster ride you had just been on. And is such a great home theater experience that I'm glad it's my number 5. It had to be number 5. It's just that good as far as home theater experience goes, for sound, for picture, all of that stuff. Very similar to Moonfall, but it's my version of that movie, so of that kind of genre, but all about the home theater experience with that one. So that's my number 5. All right.
You know what's interesting? I want to bring this up, and this is a complete oversight on me. The whole time I was watching that film, I was thinking about how it compares to Heat.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I don't know if it's because someone mentioned the shootout on the streets or whatever it was.
It's like Heat on steroids, that shootout scene. I've watched the two back to back. You can't, you go and see the Heat shootout after you see the ambulance one, and you're like, oh, wow, it's kind of boring. But the cinematography of Heat is completely different. It's a different movie. It's a different feel. And by the time you get to that shootout, it means as much as the shootout. The ambulance one, it's just like, it's a small part of the story. By the time you get to the shootout in Heat, you can't just watch that scene as a clip, because there's so much more involved in that, and it's the dialogue that led up to that in Heat that adds to everything that's going on there. Whereas in Ambulance, you can clip that scene and watch it over and over and just watch your room go boom, and that's what's fun.
I mean, I think you're right about the Ambulance. Like, I saw it because you told me to see it, and I think the audio was incredible and experience with the sound and everything. I think if you look at critics, you look at these films, pair them up 10 years from now, I mean, I don't think anybody's going to remember Ambulance. They're going to remember Heat. Yeah. Heat is a dramatic, it's a work of art. Michael Mann's piece is a work of art. I don't think Michael Bay's picture touched it.
Not at all.
With the exception of the technical aspects, which you mentioned. I couldn't buy Jake Gyllenhaal's character.
I couldn't buy their relationship either.
Right.
Yeah.
And not because the one guy was black and one guy was white, but they didn't spend any time connecting us to these characters.
Yeah.
Before they're thrown into this frenetic situation.
Right.
And it's just one thing after the next.
Yeah.
So I would agree. And by the time you get to that shootout in Heat, you're invested in the characters, even if they're bad people. You're invested in these characters, and when things start happening to them, you know, it's integral to the emotional level of the film to that point.
Yeah.
So
And you know, great script writers can turn a character. So you might hate Robert De Niro's character in the beginning, but you end up empathizing with him, and that's what a great script can do. A great writer can do. Fantastic characters in that film. And you know, by the way, nobody mentioned Heat as a 4K release. I wasn't super impressed.
Yeah.
I didn't think it needed to be. It was a little bit of an improvement. I didn't put it out there, but it did come out last summer.
It did come out this year. And I agree with you. There are some movies that, cinematically speaking, the way that they're shot aren't really going to truly benefit from the increase in resolution, from the application of high dynamic range, things like that. And that is a movie that I feel would have been fine and was fine in the previous 1080p release. And I didn't really see where the 4K release added a whole lot of dimension to it.
Right.
But yeah, I love that movie, but we digress because it's not on anybody's list, so I get it.
Right. It's not a home theater experience. It's a different kind of a movie. And it should be seen in a home theater because, again, you want to give these movies that respect.
Of course.
And that's what it's like. You're sitting down and you're watching, Heat. It's like kick back, relax, and I've seen it before, but then get the nuances of the acting. That's what you're looking for. Ambulance
it's
is
a great movie.
Like Moonfall. You're just there to watch things go boom, and that's it.
Popcorn entertainment.
Exactly. Exactly. So, all right. We're down to top 4 here. Ralph, what do you got, buddy?
We talked about this one earlier. Someone brought it up. I think it was Jeff. Bullet Train.
Oh, okay. Wow. Bullet Train.
Well, certainly better than Ambulance, story-wise.
Yes.
I think visually and audibly speaking, they're very close. I really enjoyed the presentation of Bullet Train. I enjoyed the story. I loved it's not a 5-star movie, but I enjoyed the story. I love Brad Pitt in it. I like it felt like a fresh take on the genre for me, and that's one of the things that I enjoyed about it. And the presentation just made it better. So for me, that one is number 4.
And the box
Nice.
art is fantastic for that film.
Watch out with that box art.
Here we
I
go with
mean,
the box
did you
covers.
see that? Did you see
Yeah.
that you get like the cards and you get the playing cards?
Oh yeah,
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
it's all good.
It was a fun, such a fun movie. I didn't have it super high as story. I felt like it was kind of like not been there, done that, but it wasn't. It just didn't grab me in a way that some other movies this year did. But as far as a home theater experience, and that's not to say that it's bad. I loved the movie. I had a blast with it. Even my dad was like, "Did you see Bullet Train?" And like when my dad mentioned stuff, because he doesn't really mention a lot when it comes to movies. So if it strikes him and he mentions it to me, that's a big deal. And he loved it. Absolutely, and he's just watching it on his regular TV at home. But he loved Brad Pitt. He loves sarcasm, which is Brad Pitt's oodles of sarcasm through this movie, the way they act, and good flip of, not flip, but reveals later. It's a fun movie. It's a great home theater experience, too. Really good choice. Nice number 4.
Good
All
choice.
right. What do we got, Jeff? Number 4.
I'm at number 4.
Yes. We all
At
are.
number
but
4,
yes.
I have the cinematic series, The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power.
Oh, nice. Rings of
I-
Power. Nice. I had that as an honorable mention.
I don't think people realize how good of a production this is. They're watching it on smartphones. They're watching
Yes.
it on laptops. They're watching it on their their motion flow, whatever TVs with the
Yeah.
soap opera effect.
Ah.
I watched it on a 75-inch Bravia, and I've watched it on projection. And the bigger it is, the better it gets. It's like the Lord of the Rings trilogy, except it's obviously it's drawn out a little bit. It's best equated to sort of the Fellowship of the Ring, drawn out, but with great rewards for those who stick with the film, the series.
Yep.
That eruption of Mount Doom, episode
Awesome.
Yeah.
6,
Yeah.
7,
Something like that.
was probably one of the most incredible scenes that you have seen in a series. Visually, audibly, it's incredible. I just can't recommend it more as a home theater experience. So that's
And I love the fact that it was shot in a scope format too.
Mhm.
You know, it was wide, it was super wide. I thought that was great. I love the way it's a great choice, by the way, Jeff. And I loved what they did with the audio mix on it too. It was definitely a total package. I didn't I had it. What I did was I kind of pulled out my streaming. I only had 2 titles, and we already talked about one, and that was House of the Dragon, and the Rings of Power was the other one. Great choice. Great choice. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, these were going head to head at the time of the stream. I think one started slightly before the other, Rings of Power and House of the Dragon, but nobody gave up on either of them. If you're into, the home theater fans, I had a discussion with my son about it at the time, and I think they're pretty equal. And I can't remember which one he said was a little ahead of the other. And I'm like, yeah, but in the home theater world, and he goes, yeah, but he gets dismissive. He goes, yeah, but that's just the home theater. I go, that's what I'm talking about. I don't I'm like, what else is there, man? No, but they were home theater wise. I had, House of the Dragon a little ahead of this one just because of what we talked about earlier and pulling out, actually pushing the envelope and the darkness and the contrast and everything that they did there. But this one here, this is one that a lot of people are talking about. They can't wait to get the physical version. And with Jack Ryan coming out physical release and other releases that they've done of their original content, everybody was super excited, like, oh, maybe we'll be getting this soon. So great choice. Awesome. Glad it made somebody's top 5. All right. My number 4, Dune. dropped in what, January, I think, of
It
this
was.
year.
It was
Yeah.
like beginning of the year.
Yeah, a lot of people forget that. But yeah, Dune, which I've watched multiple times over the year, just because as something would come out, you'd be like, I gotta go back to this. And some of those bass heavy scenes when he comes in and he's like, or he had to move something, not to give it away, but you've got that, and then some of the speckles. I bought this in 3D as well, and I prefer the 4K over the 3D. But the spice coming through the air in 4K and that shimmer on your screen where you could see, it's so good. This is another movie that multiple viewings and the clarity of picture, the contrast that you're getting, the looking in their eyes and looking at the colors, and it just, there's so much to this movie story-wise too. I couldn't wait to get more. I started reading the Dune comic back when this came out because I just wanted more information. Supposedly we're getting Dune 2 this year, so
That'd be good.
fingers crossed. But absolutely love this movie, and it's a great home theater experience. So
Great choice, DJ.
thank you.
So can I just say that I didn't put that in 2022, although it makes my top 10. It's it's number 3 for the top Blu-rays of the year.
Yep.
Because I saw it as a 2021 release because it came on HBO Max.
Right.
But
Yeah.
if you're in your scores, if it helps it out, I think that
That's okay.
it would be in my top 15, or at least an honorable mention. I just I saw it as a 2021 release, and I didn't put it in this.
That's
So,
okay. I'll give you a 15 on that.
There you go.
Thank you for that.
All
Appreciate
right.
that.
What do we have, Ralph? What do we have for number 3? Top 3. Here we go.
Okay, so number 3, we discussed it already at length, so we will not rehash. Ambulance was number 3 for me.
You had it higher than me. Look at you go. I love it. Love
Yeah.
it.
It and Bullet Train were like this.
Yep.
So I gave the nod to Ambulance. So Ambulance is number 3 for all the reasons we discussed already.
Nice. All right. Awesome. What do you got, Jeff, for number 3?
Number 3, I have the House of the Dragon series.
Oh, nice. All right.
Nice.
I
Look
think
at
that the same as some of the same things I said about the Rings of Power. You got to sit through quite a bit to get to these moments, but the atmospheric elements, the audio elements, the environmentals in this series are really, really sophisticated. The visual effects, the dragons, they've never been like before. You almost don't have to suspend your disbelief to watch this series because the quality is so good. Do I have problems with the time jump for Rihanna? Yes, I do. But in terms of home theater, I think there are moments in this film that if you were to condense them all into one movie, you'd have a top 3 for sure.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Awesome. Great. Glad that made, I had it at 8, and now you have it at 3. That's going to be highly ranked. My number 3, we've already talked about it, The Northman.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
For the
Good for you,
reasons
number
that
3.
Yep. I just thought that as a home theater experience, you're right, Ralph. Like, you can't watch this over and over. It's not one that but it deserves on the year. To me, it was a borderline number 1. My top 3 are like, obviously everybody knows my podcast, knows what number 1's going to be, but this one there is like, it's such an artistic piece. Steve George and I talked about it earlier, like 6 months ago. We talked about it at length, broke it down, like the story, the sound, the picture, everything. It's just such a great experience. And that the dream sequences that we talk, whatever they are, right? How that plays into and the interpretation of the story. Some people I don't like that part, but it's just a dream, but it's not a dream. It's this, it's that. There's so much that you can interpret from this movie, which to me, that's a piece of art. It means one thing to you, but it means something else to me. And then,
Sure.
But then you just add in the home theater part where you have the opening scene with that bass and then the eruption. Oh, it's so fantastic. So I'm getting chills. All right, let's move on.
Cool.
Number 2, Ralph, buddy. What do we got?
Wow. We're
Here we
that
go.
close. I can't believe
I
it.
know.
Unfortunately, we've already talked about it, so
course.
it's nothing new. Dune.
Nice.
Dune is number 2 for me.
Nice.
I
I like it.
I think when you think of, a film that feels epic, like Dune felt epic to me. I thought it, you could see the scope of the story is much broader than what we get in the first installment, but you can see the handwriting on the wall. I like that. Disappointed that it leaves you on a cliffhanger, but hey, this is the nature of the beast. I thought that the presentation kept up with the story, both on the audio front and the video front. For me, it was an end-to-end experience that I really, really enjoyed. So knowing that, I reviewed it in January of this year is why it made it into my top 10, even though I know, as Jeff had pointed out, it came out. But I was going by the disc version, which is what I had seen. I waited. I knew it dropped on HBO Max, but I waited and held off to see it on physical.
Yeah,
Number 2.
This released this was one of those day and date as the theater. That's why it was on, or if it even made it into the theater, if I remember. I can't remember.
Yeah,
that.
no, it for sure. It was in the theater. That's where I saw it 2 times.
Okay.
Yep.
So I saw it. Okay. So I saw it at home, and then I saw it the physical release, which came out. But like you said, Ralph, I love your point of like you're left on a cliffhanger. But didn't we like that as opposed to the original Dune, which crammed the entire story? This is actually gonna flesh everything out in such a way that this is our modern day, like Lord of the Rings. We're getting it, when these 3, if it's 3 movies, when they come out, that's going to be an event. Sit down and watch the Dune series.
Sure.
And I can't wait for 2, right? And you couldn't wait for 2 when this thing ended. You were like, oh my God, when's it coming? So, awesome choice.
Gosh, I wish, it would have been my number 2 or 3, and I just wish I had. But that's okay.
That's okay.
It'll still
hey,
rank
we
high.
all have our opinion, and it's
Yep.
gonna all flesh out. It'll be
I
fine.
want to be part of the club. I don't want to be left out. You know what I mean?
You're
Like,
sitting on the bus bench. You're good.
I feel like I read the rules wrong or something.
Hey, at least you're not the middleman.
Yeah. Well, somebody had to separate me and Jeff after last year's fiasco. I don't know. All right, what do you have at number? What do you have at number 2, Jeff?
Oh, my number 2 is the Batman.
Ooh, nice.
Nice.
I mean,
Well,
you want to
let's-
talk about piece of art.
Exactly. That's
we-
my number
we-
2 as well. So let's go.
We
match.
talked about this extensively already. It's just you can't deny that this is a work of cinematic art.
Yes.
Everything. And I just, I want to watch it again. I want to wait a little while. Like, it's kind of like I want to let it sit on the shelf for a little bit and enjoy it again at some point. But I've probably seen it 6 times already, and
Yeah.
it's
It's-
fantastic.
For another comic book movie, what Christopher Nolan did back with his Batman interpretation, for those to be talked about in, Oscar buzz and, Heath Ledger winning an Oscar through that. And I mean, that we thought as comic book fans were like, wow, we're hitting, the big time here. And then, what Matt Reeves did here with the Batman and just, but finally getting that detective story, but then getting an origin kind of sorts of the Batman. It's like Batman Year 2. So but then, like you said, the piece of art, it's like if you've read Batman when you were a kid or some of the shots looked like they were shot straight out of a comic book, like they were framed perfectly. I think I talked to both of you guys earlier this year of the shot of Batman and Catwoman up on the top of a building, and it's like the way you could see the cityscape in the background and the way it was framed in their silhouettes, and you're like, I know I read this, I gotta find it somewhere. It's like, but that incorporated into the movie was, like you said, it is, Jeff, you're right, 100%. It's a piece of art that there's so much to it. And then the home theater side of it, the Batmobile, oh my God. Like it's amazing.
The
And
scene when he chases down the penguin, and
yeah,
and
yeah.
he ends up upside down.
And then
I mean,
Penguin,
it's almost
the
like,
car rolls and your
Yeah.
room rolls with it.
Yeah.
Oh,
If you could take the best comic book you've ever read and put it on the big screen, I mean, that's kind of what it
Yeah.
is. It just doesn't. You can't beat it. Yeah, I had.
and also pushing the envelope for the black levels, like we were talking about. And it's like, and it like Jeff, you and I talked about how it's. I think you coined it to me, anyways. It's more like a chocolate. Was that you or was it you, Ralph? Somebody.
No, that was me.
That
I
was
was sort
you.
of talking about how.
It wasn't a deep like neutral black like you'd see like it was more of a browner black throughout the movie. The tone to the movie was a little warmer, but then this detail was all still there, like the scene when he's walking into that crime scene and you're just like,
Well, I was comparing it to Tenet, which I think has silky, glossy, deep blacks that are like what do you want to see more, milk chocolate or dark chocolate? And that's the way I was kind of described it. And Tenet to me reached that level. I think that is one of some of the most beautiful color grading that I've seen. And the Batman also looks really good. I mean, I don't think it got to that glossy sort of like.
but he didn't want it. I don't think that's what
Right.
he was going for,
You want it to be a little more textural.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh. All right.
Excellent choice.
All right. That was my number 2. Obviously. So we're at number 1. Is anybody?
So
there's one we
I
haven't
think we're-
mentioned.
I think we're all probably going to be in agreement here. I could be wrong. I don't want to speak out of turn.
I don't either.
Was it Annie?
To Serve with Love.
Let's go right across the board. We'll start. Ralph, you say your number, then Jeff, you say yours, and I'll say mine. Go ahead, Ralph.
Top Gun Maverick.
Jeff.
Top Gun.
Maverick, right?
Maverick.
Unbelievable. Just how is this not, in anybody's estimation, the number 1 movie of the year? What it did in my this sold mad VRs because of the variable aspect ratios, right? And people wanted to get rid of it or keep it or whatever they had to do. There was so much buzz around this movie, but then the this is the blockbuster of all blockbusters that everybody we couldn't stop talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, you could talk about it for hours. I mean, we saw it in the theater, obviously, and all I kept thinking as I was taking it in the theater was, I can't wait to experience this at home. And when I got it home, because we had to wait. I forget, it dropped on streaming like months before, and I refused to watch the streaming version. It was tough, but I refused to do it. And when I got the disc, it was phenomenal. I hear all these complaints about the lack of height effects. I don't understand it. I literally sat in this room and I turned off all the speakers except for the ones in the ceiling, because I had people whining about it. Because for me, when I'm listening to an Atmos track, I don't really focus on where I think the sounds are coming from, but I just listen
Right.
to the track based upon what I'm seeing. The only time I'll be drawn out of it is if I'm expecting to hear something that passes by, let's say overhead, and I don't get that, then I'll kind of stop and investigate a little further. But if I'm watching it and the sounds are coming from where I think they should be coming from, and it's just completely drawing me into the experience, then I just watch it from beginning to end. With
Right.
this, I never questioned what I was hearing or what I was seeing, and just thoroughly became engaged in watching the movie, and I just loved it.
Great synopsis. I couldn't agree with you more. You and I talked during the year about it, about this movie and other movies where people tend to focus too much on like a specific point or something. That's not the point of any of these things, because it's the envelopment that gets you to think that that sound came from where you think it came from. Like we were talking about earlier, Jeff, with the bass and stuff. It's like, if you try to whittle it down and isolate some of these things, it's like, yeah, maybe when you isolate it, it doesn't sound exactly like you thought it did, but it's in that emotion. It's in that moment where you're all things playing out. And there's some things where they'll make a sound loud on one side of the room just so that you kind of lean that way, but then they'll hit you over here. But then when you isolate it later, but you take away that first sound, it just doesn't sound as dynamic. Why? Because you didn't have everything, right? And it's like what Maverick did here. It's like the variable aspect ratios, the storytelling, and the close-ups, and then the whooshes and the sounds, and like you felt like you were in that plane, and like that's what they wanted you to feel, right? That's what Tom Cruise wanted. That's what, going into this movie, we all thought that's what we were going to get. But then when we got it, and like you said, you're sitting in the theater and you're like, I can't wait to hear this at home. And to your point, Ralph, about waiting, I had my listeners, I was like, if there was one movie, there was such a gap on the digital release over the physical release. This is that movie. Give yourself that opportunity to really experience it, because everybody wanted to see it so many times anyways. Experience it on digital release. You had like 2 months of just watching those scenes, and then when you got that physical disc, it just hit you like a ton of bricks, because you heard that difference, and it was just such a big difference. And this movie spawned so many conversations about so many things in home theater that I don't think we'll see another movie like this for a long time. It'll be a while before something this big and this popular takes. And like you said, it's like it was in the theaters and we couldn't wait to get it at home. This was the first one to be like, nope, we're pushing it back. We're pushing it back. We're pushing it back. All the other movies, I had Jurassic World Dominion. That popped up because it wasn't doing that well at the box office. All of a sudden, next thing you know, it's like, oh, we're getting it in digital release is coming out now. And you're like, already? And we were still waiting on Maverick. It's amazing. Amazing movie. Jeff, comments?
You're gonna wear that shirt out. No, I mean, I think you're right on. Didn't you watch it on Kaleidoscope?
Yeah.
Or you did? Okay, so you got a higher bit rate than most people got, because
it's comparable, very comparable to the disc. It's if you'd have to, you're picking nits there if you're trying to compare those two. But the advantage and that's why I told everybody, is like on Kaleidoscope, when it drops digitally, you get it on Kaleidoscope as well. Mm-hmm. So I got it 2 months, and I'm like, please. And I did the AB, and I was like, I brought my wife down to watch it, and I'm like, here, just watch this. And I had her play the digital one, right? And then I'm like, and just the opening scene, right up until he's fixing, as soon as you see him fixing his, prop plane, whatever that was, Mustang, I think. And as soon as you get to that, I stopped it. But all that leading up, which is the old open and everything like that. And I'm like, okay, I'm not changing a single setting, hon. Just sit here, just a second, boom, hit play. And she was like, and you get that, dum, dum, and you're like, oh, and she was like, wow. I mean, even everybody I played it for was like, wow, the difference in dynamics you get. And when that Top Gun comes up, the logo comes up after they do the whole fighter school, and you just get that on the screen, you're like, boom. And then they go into Danger Zone and everything. It's just, oh my God.
That part I get.
So good.
I mean, I think in terms of story, like I'm not sure how much you talked about that, but I think dealing with an unidentified enemy is a real tricky thing to do. I mean, they say when you're writing stories, one of the hardest things you want to create an enemy, right?
Yeah.
An opposition, and one of the hardest things to do is have like a spiritual enemy or something that you can't see, a supernatural, and they don't have a real distinct enemy, which I think is a testament to the writing of this film. It's really good.
I'd say the enemy is time. The enemy is time. He's aging. They're talking about technology over man. They're talking about all of this stuff, and then you have that opening scene that we talk about where the clock's ticking at the beginning, and you hit tick, 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 tick.
Yeah,
when
I mean,
he's
that's
in
a
there.
good point.
That's
That's a
the
good
enemy.
point.
It's like everything else is it's
Yeah.
all a
And
play on that.
to go along with that, they also incorporate, the illness
Hmm.
of
Hmm.
Yeah.
and again, it speaks to our humanity,
Hmm.
and the things that we're faced with as we get older.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
The only thing I couldn't figure out was when I rewatched it was how did it was his name was Hondo, Tom Maverick's supervisor in the
Oh
Dark
yeah,
Star
yeah. Yep.
program, right? He's their supervisor, right?
I don't know if it's
Well, whatever.
supervisor, but yeah.
He's
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden he's on the Top Gun program. Like, how did who? How does
Yeah,
Hondo?
we talked
They don't
about that.
explain that part about it. Like, how does he end up over at Top Gun? Like, it
Right.
just happened. They
Following
didn't
him like
explain
he's
his.
he's
Yeah,
personal manager or something like that.
yeah.
It's like
But I
I
guess
didn't know.
there's when you're doing movies, you have to edit some stuff, and you can't explain everybody's jumps
Right.
in the script or whatever. And so, but overall, I mean, a feel good movie. You know.
Yep.
To say the
that
least.
everybody loves, a technical achievement, state of the art filming.
100%.
Yeah,
Oh,
Soup
yeah.
to
can't argue.
nuts. Soup to nuts.
Soup to nuts. Awesome. All right. Do you guys want to hear our top 10 that we have come up with here?
Okay.
Go ahead.
So our official top 10, here we go. At number 10, Bullet Train.
Oh, wow.
All right. So I didn't have it ranked and Jeff didn't have it ranked, but Ralph had it at number 4. That popped it up. So if it didn't get ranked, it got the higher. I just put across the board the highest score, which was a 16, because we went to the top 15. So if we didn't rank it, everybody got a 16. So number 9, Edge of Tomorrow. I didn't have it ranked. Ralph had it at number 9, and Jeff had it number 8. Number 8, Star Trek: The Motion Picture. I didn't have it ranked. Still haven't seen it. But Ralph had it at number 11. And then, Jeff, you had it at number 6. So that got it into number 8. Number 7, Spider-Man No Way Home. Ralph, you didn't have it ranked. I had it at number 9. And Jeff had it at number 5 for an aggregate score of 30. House of the Dragon. These are all pretty close. I should have been given that. So the Bullet Train had an aggregate score of 36. Edge of Tomorrow, 33. Star Trek had 33 as well. But the tiebreaker here is it had the higher of the scores. That's how this does it. So that, because it was ranked as a number 6. Spider-Man No Way Home, aggregate score number 30. Number 6, House of the Dragon, our first streamer, aggregate score 27. Jeff had it at number 3. Ralph didn't have it ranked. I had it at number 8. Number 5, The Northman, aggregate score of 26. Jeff had it at 7. Ralph, you had it didn't have it ranked, and I had it at number 3. Number 4, Ambulance, aggregate score of 24. Jeff didn't have it ranked. Ralph had it at 3. I had it at 5. Number 3, now we're getting down to it. Aggregate score of 21. Jeff, you had it at 15 because you wanted to get it there, so we put it at 15.
Thank you.
Ralph, you had it. That was, yeah, Dune. Did I say Dune?
No, but it's Dune. Okay.
Yeah, it's Dune. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Dune, number 3. So we had, Ralph, you had it number 2. Yeah, Jeff, you had it at 15 because we put it there. I had it at number 4. Now the top 2, the Batman was number 3. Pretty big jump from 21 to 11. So Batman's aggregate score was 10 points better. Yeah, Jeff, you had it at 2. Ralph had it at 7. I had it at 2. And then, of course, Top Gun Maverick, aggregate score of 3 because we all ranked it number 1. Clearly, that's the runaway of it because it's not the greatest separation, but yeah, number 3. It had a
Fantastic.
total score.
Wow.
So there you go.
Sounds like a solid top 10.
Yeah.
Seems very accurate to me. I don't know why Annie's not in that top list, but I'm very happy with those top 10. That is very, very good list.
Yeah.
Agreed.
That was pretty cool, doing it that way. I did this before. I just do it in Excel, and it breaks it down. All of our other ones are pretty close. All the other ones that we mentioned that didn't get ranked by others but ranked pretty high, they're all off by 1 or 2. The complete list will be in the show notes and everything like that. But
Nice.
that was, wow. It's been a lot. I didn't think it would take this long, boys, but thank you for sticking around. It's a great topic.
No problem. It's always good to catch up with you guys and to sit down and meeting of the minds.
Well, I don't know about that. I'm just here. I wouldn't call I joked with you earlier this year, Ralph. Let's not bring my mind against your mind.
Come on.
Oh, do I have to break out your Shakespearean write-ups? Jeez. I'm like, it was good. Things went boom. And Ralph's like, I can't even fake it without reading it in front of me. Great job by both of you guys. Thank you very much. Jeff, you put all this together and inspired all this from my side of it. Thank you very much for that. And sitting down with you guys all year long. You guys are awesome with me. I reach out to you and you're like, yep, let's go right now. I'm like, okay. All right. So thank you. You'll both be back this year. I can't wait to do this again next year. I really don't think we're going to have another year like 2022 for home theater. We're going to have a great year, no doubt, but I don't think it'll be this contested. So.
All right. I'll go along with that. We'll see.
All right. All right, guys. Thank you very much.
you.
Pleasure being here, buddy.
Happy New Year, boys.
Yep. Happy New Year. Happy New Year, Jeff, DJ. I will definitely catch you guys on the flip side.
Sounds great. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Subscribe, all that jazz. Go push play.